right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've obviously got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. We've got the results of the Legion Sports Festival. We've got the results of the Tsunami Pro in France. So we're going to start with that show. We're going to talk about Samson Dauda a little bit. I think that was probably the big story of the day, and I feel like for that reason, the Tsunami Pro kind of overshadowed the Legion show a little bit, even though you had a really impressive top two at the Legion. But at the Tsunami Pro, you obviously had Samson Dauda winning. You had Andrea Presti in second, Theo Laguerrier in third, Mo Insauer in fourth, and Enrico Hoffman in fifth place here. So nothing too surprising. I don't think anybody expected Samson to lose this show. Relatively easy win for him. And I'm going to throw in some pictures here instead of just video so you guys get a little bit more of an idea of how Samson may have looked here. There's also an iPhone video I'm going to put in here as well, just so it's not just screen quality that you're going off of. Live stream screen quality, that is. So overall, I think Samson looked good here. I think the obvious thing that a lot of people are pointing out is this obviously isn't the level of condition that we want to see from him at the Olympia. To be more competitive with Hadi Chupin and Derek Lunsford and try to move up out of that third place spot into a top two position. But that's part of why I thought this was such a bold move for Samson. I think it was important for him to have kind of this practice run, a warm-up show, if you will, with just his wife as his coach. I think it's going to benefit him in the long run. But one of the reasons why I thought this was a bold move was the fact that no matter what happened at this show, if, you know, obviously he won, but if he lost, obviously that would be a big negative. But let's be real, we all knew he was going to win. But on one hand, if he came into this show crazy conditioned, peeled to the bone, exactly what we want to see from him at the Olympia, perfectly peaked at a warm-up show, we'd be excited, but at the same time, there'd be tons of people saying, well, he blew his peak on this show. There's no way he's going to look like that at the Olympia. Why would he peak this early? This is going to throw him off at the Olympia, etc. Or you have the situation that we had here where he looked like he was maybe 85% of what he will likely be at the Olympia, and certainly not what we want to see from him at the Olympia here. But in doing that, he's kind of saving that perfect peak for the Olympia. I don't even know how much he actually focused on peaking for this show, because that's kind of the concern that people bring up, is when you do shows back-to-back, it might miss your peak for one of the other shows by doing too many. But honestly, in this case, it kind of looks like Samson just walked into this show 2 weeks out. How much did he really focus on peaking specifically for this? Like, he looked pretty similar to what we saw from him on Instagram. In the way that he won this so easily, I don't know how much of a distraction this really was for him from his Olympia prep. I don't know, I guess a way of putting it would be how hard he tried for this show, because maybe he knew he didn't really need to. He just wanted that warm-up. And that's kind of what I said going into this, is that's why I don't see it as super risky for Samson, because, again, no offense to the other guys, but he's just kind of on a different level than those guys. Top 3 Olympian. Realistically, he didn't have to do much to win this show. And realistically, he probably knew that. And realistically, that's why he picked it as a warm-up show. There was never really much threat to him losing here. So I think we all agree. Samson looked good, but this was definitely not the level of conditioning that we want to see on the Olympia stage. But on the other hand, did we really want to see him bring that level of condition to a show that's not the Olympia? So either way, he's going to get criticized here, but I think this was probably the outcome that was best for him. Not spending too much time, energy, effort, and focus on bringing his maximum peak to this random show before the Olympia that he doesn't even need to do, and saving that for the Olympia, maybe not looking his all-time best condition at this show, but does it really matter if he's saving it for the Olympia? Because I don't ever think this was meant to be a showcase of, this is what you'll see from me at the Olympia. Like I said, I think the focus here was a warm-up show, a practice run. I don't think Samson did it to say, you know, I look like I'm in Olympia shape right now. This is what you're going to see. I just think it was a warm-up for him, and that's it. So I'm not surprised that it played out this way. But overall, he didn't look bad. Like I said, I think he was probably about 85%. He looked kind of comparable to, I would say, the Arnold Classic UK package, but I think he was tighter there at the UK show than he was here. But again, he's 2 weeks out from the Olympia. It kind of looks like he just stepped on stage like fresh out of the gym. Really full, really round, just not super peeled. And I also do think you get to see a little bit more of that detail. It's not like he looked horrible here. It's just not what we want to see on the Olympia stage. But I think you see a little bit more of that detail in the pictures than translated in that live stream. So that's why I showed some pictures in this video. But I think overall, well-deserved win for Samson. I don't think anybody disagrees with it. And the talk of the day is really just, what does this mean for Samson at the Olympia? I just don't think this is a fair representation of what we're going to see from him at the O. I just think it was kind of a little bit of a preview. So while I didn't think he looked bad, I would agree with most people saying that this look won't be good enough at the Olympia, and I think obviously Samson probably knows that. And I feel a little bit bad for Andrea Presti too. I mean, this guy's trying to qualify for the Olympia so bad, and he probably would have won this show had Samson not been there. Well, he did play second, so he would have won had Samson not been there. So it kind of sucks for him. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below about the results of the 2024 Tsunami Pro in France. Now, let's talk about the Legion Sports Festival next. There's been a lot of talk about this show going into it. Another early qualifier for 2025. And you had this really interesting rivalry here of Brett Wilkin and Bruno Santos. Bruno Santos coming into this show fresh off of a win. He also just beat Andrea Presti recently at that Europa UK show in somewhat controversial fashion. They did really a pretty clear top two call out of these guys just all throughout this show. They started out prejudging with just the two of them. There was no six-man first call out, just those two. They ended prejudging with just those two. I think a very competitive top two. Like I noted in my prejudging video, I feel like these two guys have very similar physiques in a lot of ways. I think Bruno might just be a little bit bigger, while Brett was, I think, much more detailed and conditioned at this show. So Brett Wilkin ended up winning. He beat Bruno Santos, who took second. In third was Martin Hernandez. In fourth was Ken Woo Park. And in fifth, Don Reinhold. So I think this was definitely a well-deserved victory on Brett's behalf. And I'm showing some pictures here to give you guys a little bit more clear than the live stream. I don't know how many of you guys watched finals tonight, but mine was really laggy. I don't know if you had that same experience. But I think it's much more clear in the still pictures than it was on the live stream. I think it was pretty clear on the live stream too, but just the difference in conditioning. I think Brett was just way too detailed, way too sharp for Bruno to overcome. And Brett's more complete than Andrea Presti, who Bruno beat somewhat controversially. Andrea Presti was incredible condition at that show, and Bruno still won. And Bruno's just, he's bigger than Brett. He was fuller than Brett, but the conditioning, he was just not on the same level. Brett was too good today. And I would say Brett even looked better here at the finals than he looked at prejudging. And Bruno looked about the same, maybe a little bit softer. So I think it was even more clear at the finals that Brett was the winner here. So Brett now has his qualification for the 2025 Mr. Olympia, and I think it was a well-deserved victory. I think he looked phenomenal here, really good condition, and he held it for the entirety of this show. I know this was a really long one. I'm recording this at midnight now, Eastern time. I feel like I've been watching this show for like the past 10 hours. So this was a long one. So unlike some of the shows that we've had throughout this season where the prejudging and the finals are separated only by like an hour or 40 minutes, this was a pretty big gap between the two. So I think it makes it that much more impressive that Brett held his conditioning from prejudging to finals and even looked better at the finals. So very impressive package from Brett. Bruno was impressive too. I can see a little bit more now why he won the show a few weeks ago. He does have a really, really good physique. He just needs to come in better condition to compete with guys like Brett. And even, even though he beat Andrea is not quite on the level of Brett. I would even say not only is Brett significantly like more balanced and a little bit more muscular than Andrea Presti, his conditioning, I would say, here was better than that conditioning from Andrea a couple weeks ago. And something too about Bruno's color, his tan, seemed kind of off to me at both shows. I don't know if he has like that because he's got a bunch of tattoos, and I know there's like a thicker type of pro tan that you can put on to mask over top of that tattoo. He just had like a very dry, caked on dark tan, whereas Brett, you can see, had a nice kind of shine to his physique, and his color was really good. But Bruno was kind of dark, matte texture tan with not a whole lot of shine. And like I said, I don't know if it was because he has so many tattoos, if he used that like concealer version of the pro tan, but something about his color I felt like was taking away from his sharpness and detail as well. But Brett, I think, really nailed it. Peaked really well here. Perfect color, good presentation, everything. Well-deserved victory by Brett. So that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell, notification icon, all that good stuff. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NICKS&P, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.